Welcome to Centre Court. With thanks to OMF, kick back and relax with an adjustable bed from Australian designed and owned OMF. Watch Sport Your Way and Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in northern Victoria. I'm Bianca Chatfield. Maddie Brown is alongside me. This is our final episode of Centre Court, of course, because the Super Netball season is now at the pointy end. Maddie, we know who our grand finalists are.
The big dance. It's the week of the big dance. It is an exciting week. It's a short week. We won't have to wait until Sunday. It's going to happen on Saturday night. And wowee, I do think that the two best teams have made it, because that performance from the Vixens in that last quarter, they deserve to be there because they wanted it more. Didn't they? Well, let's get straight into the OMF overview. Watch Sport Your Way. We need to talk about the preliminary final that happened on Sunday at Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney. The New South Wales Swifts obviously went into this game as favourites, although their season had been going on the downward scale for much of the last few games. The Vixens, though, ended up winning by one, but just take a look at that fourth quarter. The volume of goals, Maddie, that was the highest the Vixens have scored all season, 25 goals in a quarter, and to 14 in the Swifts. How are you feeling? I know you were commentating on SEN radio. I was doing the Fox commentary, and going into that last quarter, I believed Vixens could do it if they got close enough. However, I thought this is going to have to be miraculous for them to turn around. Oh, well, I said it on air. You know, Vixens had not scored 20 goals for the entire season in one quarter. So they were going to have to create history for the season if they were going to even have a shot. But defensively, they were going to have to restrict, because they went in with that 10-goal deficit at three-quarter time. We've seen the scenes around, you know, the speech, the emotional speech of Simone McInnes, Kate Maloney rallying around her troops. But for me, I reckon in the first 3 to 4 minutes of that last quarter, I was like, Vixens are going to win it. And purely because of the way that Swifts were trying to defend the lead and protect it, that is the worst thing you can do in those situations. You've still got to attack the game. You've got to win it, not protect it. And you could see them starting to go away from all the things that got them to that lead. They started going away from it. They started going laterally, not going down. People were standing. There were not multiple options. And it was like, what are you doing? Keep moving, where you just could see that, you know, Rudy Ellis coming out a little bit, got a tip, didn't cleanly get it, but just put the pressure on the Swifts. And all of a sudden, everyone went tense and tight for the Swifts. And it was like, all right, here come the Vixens. And I mean, you know, prelims are the hardest to win and they hurt the most to lose, because you're just like, oh, we were so close. But this is the fourth year in a row that the prelim has been determined by one goal. Usually it's the home side that win it, but Vixens, I mean, they just have this mental edge at the moment that do or die, don't worry, doesn't matter, we're calm, we're composed, we believe in what we can put out there. And when it comes to the crunch, well, couldn't they own the clutch moments yesterday? Oh, and the last time an away team has won a preliminary final was back in 2018 as well. So it's often won by that home team. So it was a mighty effort from the Vixens. I mean, in that final quarter too, Sophie Garbin, 17 from 17, 100% shooting. And I don't think I have seen her demand the ball, want the ball so much in those pressured moments. And we've got her coming up on our show very shortly. Can't wait to talk to her. But just to see the difference from a Sophie Garbin playing in final series in 2024 compared to now, a completely different player. Oh, and you know, I think we talk a lot about Kira Austin and how much she is the barometer. And she is. When she is firing, she just brings every single person around that attack end. Come along for the ride, jump on my back, we can go for it. And they all are really clear on what they need to do. I mean, what impressed me the most also about the Vixens was they took the risk. They put a debutant on in a preliminary final. You know, like that is kind of uncharted territory for the Vixens. So I commend them for taking the risk, because they are reaping the rewards of it, because they've said, you know, when we need to go to our bench, we will. They tried Lily Graham. They shuffled the defence around. They shuffled the attack around. They weren't prepared to just sit there on their hands and go, oh, we'll just see how this 7 goes. Like, you know, credit to Simone McInnes for taking that risk and going, you know what, it is what it is. Let's just throw everything at it. And an interesting part for me from the Swifts, and we identified it in the pre-game, was the 10 that the Swifts had listed. To me,
even just looking at the defensive end, the only circle defenders they had on their list was Maddie Turner and Sarah Clow. So from the very start, they had to play 60 minutes. They had no change to make. Maybe you could have put Lambton in goal defence, but they really went in going, we need all of our attackers. We need to go hard at that end of the court and just hope they survive in the end. And I really think that became very costly in that last quarter. Fatigue sets in. They didn't have Tegan O'Shannessy, which has been, I think, a huge loss for them this season, to inject and to add her kind of flair and extra height into that circle. And by the end, the Vixens could really grind them down that end.
But I reckon that has been a bit of a telltale sign for the Swifts all season, is like they've continually shuffled around. They've, had 11th players coming in. They, have dropped contracted players. Like, they just haven't seemed settled at times. And that really reflected, like you said, in the last quarter. And a stat that was huge, I think, for the Vixens, they'd had 5 turnovers in each of the first 3 quarters. None in the last. So when you're 10 down and you actually can't afford a turnover, like they were like, yep, no worries, we can just play possession ball and put the pressure on and to win by 1 and to win in freezing the ball when that is like Swift's trademark through and through. I mean, that it just hurts even a little more.
And it just makes me think about, you and I have had Simone McInnes as a coach. We've won a premiership under Simone McInnes. We know the type of training that she does behind the scenes, and it is that hard grind. She would have practiced that and made the girls almost probably hold the ball for 10 minutes at training, wouldn't she? You always train so much harder than what the game environment actually is. So in those moments, it's actually not too bad when you actually have to do it for 2 minutes.
And you don't freeze up because you're like, we've done this at training. We've done it that many times. It is ingrained in our brain. I know what I need to do. I just need to execute my role, not go into extra help mode or go away from our structures. And credit to the Vixens, because it was daylight robbery there at Kudos Bank Arena.
Well, of course, the grand final now is the West Coast Fever up against the Melbourne Vixens. It was pre-decided that that's going to take place at Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne. So now ends up being a home grand final for the Melbourne Vixens. And I'm sure the West Coast Fever were watching exactly what took place in that preliminary final and starting their preparations this week to take on the Vixens. That was our OMF overview. Kick back and relax from the adjustable bed from Australian design and own OMF. Watch sport your way. Time now for the good oil, thanks to Cobram Estate Australia's extra virgin olive oil. Now, of course, last week she joined us and it seems like it was a pretty good omen. So this week she is back, Vixens sharpshooter Sophie Garbin. Soph, thank you so much for joining us. Can we just get our heads around what happened in that preliminary final? How are you feeling at the moment?
Oh my God, I don't think I've got my head around it just yet. It was actually insane. I think going into that last quarter, I mean, you're down by 10, and me personally, I've never come back from a deficit that big, but I feel, you always have that little bit of belief, but it's slowly slipping away. And then I think we just went into that last quarter and I don't know what happened. I'm going to have to watch it back. I'm still on a high from it, but I know we've still got another job to do, so I need to move on to the next thing.
Well, so there's been a lot of vision around the 3-quarter chat from your coach, Simone McInnes, and it seemed quite an emotional. You can see you really smiling, quite intense. Like, what did she bring in that moment to obviously instill that belief that, go out, play with freedom and let's have a crack?
Yeah, I think we talk all the time about enjoy it, but sometimes it is hard to enjoy it out there when it's so high pressure and high stress. But I think in that moment, it just, every week we've had that reminder of this is Simone's last season. And I think for us, it's like, you never know when your last game is going to be. And, we've got a lot of inspiration off the court with, Hannah Mundy on the sidelines at the moment. So I think for me, it was really just about going out and enjoying that and doing it for Simone. I think speaking to my dad last week after the game, I know he got a mention last week, but he just is so happy for Simone, and he really spoke about her and how we should finish off her season well, and that really stuck with me. So I think I don't know, everyone just loves Simone so much, so there's a lot of buy-in. So when she speaks, we listen, and I think everyone just went out there and played with that freedom.
Well, I look forward to your dad running onto the court at the end of the grand final, no matter what happens, giving Simone a big hug. We'll make sure the cameras are definitely on that. Can you give us a bit of an insight into how Tara Watson was feeling coming out and debuting in such an incredible game? And we've often talked about that, you know, Vixens use their 7, Simone focuses on the 7 and those connections that you can grow. But then to be able to inject someone like Tara, who you would see train all the time and know exactly what she's capable of, but for us to get our first insight into her, how is she feeling when she got the nod?
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine how she would have been feeling. Probably similar feelings to anyone debuting, but in a final, in such an intense time. She looked like a bit of she was a bit stressed out there when I looked to her and to give her a high five when she did that first feed, but she's such a cool, calm and collected person away from the court. And if you see any footage of our bench, she's always up there and cheering, and she's the most excited when we're coming in for the huddles and the breaks. But she would have been, I can't say that word on here, but she would have been very nervous. But yeah, she did so well. I was so proud of her. I thought she came on and did her role so well. And I think for her, like, she comes up against Kate Eddy, Kate Maloney, all these, you know, really tough defenders at training. So I know that she has the skills to go out there and do it. And she's actually not a wing attack as such. She does play all 3, but she's more of a centre wing defence. So for her, even better to come on in that wing attack role and just give Zazie that bit of a break to reassess the game and then come back in. I thought it was great coaching by Simone, and I thought, Tara did an amazing job, and I think she'll definitely be a star of the future and hopefully in Vixens colours soon.
So if you are no stranger to a grand final week, you've won many before. What is exciting, or, you know, for some of those youngsters that haven't really experienced this before, what insight are you giving to them and saying, you know, you want to embrace and enjoy the week? Yes, there's high stakes at the end of it, but what are you kind of instilling in them, and what are you looking most forward to in this grand final week? Because it is exciting.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I feel like there's that balance of, you know, it's just another game of netball, but also it is the grand final week. And I think we've kind of embraced that the whole final series. I think we've been really looking forward to games and knowing that they're do or die the whole time. I think we're lucky enough that we were in a grand final last year and we're able to experience that. And I feel like personally I learned a lot from that final series and have gone into this final series with a different headspace about it. I think just enjoying the fact that it's grand final week. There's a few extra things that might happen, you know, around off the court, but for us it's just about focusing on our game plan and knowing that obviously we haven't beaten Fever this year, but I think if we play our best we can definitely go out there and do it. But yeah, hopefully we can play with the freedom and have that freedom leading into the game that we did in that last quarter.
Okay, so let's talk about West Coast Fever. Obviously, they've had the luxury of a week off, being able to watch the preliminary final play out. What do you think needs to be your biggest focus in taking them down in the grand final?
I think they've just been the standouts all year. They obviously have that amazing target of Janelle in the circle, but I think every player in their team has really stepped up this year. You see people like Alice Tegnild, who's just been added to the Diamond squad, and a couple of the young girls coming through. So I think for us it's about that, I know everyone says it, but that focus and concentration for the whole 60 minutes. I feel like with them, it's probably not a team that you want to be 10 down going into the last quarter against. But I think for us, just making sure we are really clear with our roles within the team. I think for our defence, I think what Rudy did this week was amazing. She was just out of the circle, having a crack, and it's no secret that you're not going to win a lot of ball off Janelle. So I think for us, it's what can we do outside the circle? How can Rudy and the other defenders disrupt that play of the middies coming through the court?
Now, so the last time the Vixens actually won a grand final at home, not in a hub, obviously in 2020, but was in 2014. Has that been spoken about? And have you put in all your numbers of tickets? How many people are flying over from the West to come and support you? Have you put in a massive number?
I didn't try and get Taylor Swift tickets, but member pre-sale just was very stressful. I was on the phone to Dad, and he's wanting, Dad, I've got to go. I've got to get these tickets in. But no, it's so exciting, and even rocking up to Sydney on the weekend, the amount of Vixens fans that were there, it's so exciting. So, I just think that we've had so many sellouts this year. It's going to be absolutely insane with all our Vixens fans. But Mum and Dad are coming over. My sister's pregnant, so I don't think she's going to make the trip over. And she won't be that fun anyway. So that's fine. But yeah, a few family members coming over. But yeah, it's just super exciting. I'm just mostly excited for all the Vixens fans to be there. It feels like forever now that we've played at home, and a home grand final. I've personally never played in one of those either, so I'm looking forward to that.
And also to take place at Rod Laver Arena. Also, congratulations, you're going to be an auntie. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, very exciting. My sister, she's due in December, so she told me that as my birthday present this year. But yeah, that's super exciting for her. She's put her basketball career to the side for a little bit so she can start a family with her and her husband. So I think Mum is the most excited about that, because everyone else, all her friends and sorry, someone's at my door. All her friends have grandkids and all that. So she's very excited for the first grandkid of the family.
Well, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. It's probably a delivery, maybe flowers.
I reckon it's probably a fake. It's probably a fake tan delivery or highlight delivery. You know, we got to get the fake tan and everything ready to go.
I'm looking at flowers.
Thanks so much for joining us, Soph, and we'll see you on Grand Final Day.
Thanks.
Well, that was the good oil. Thanks to Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested and first cold pressed in northern Victoria. Okay, Maddie, the final Maddie's minute of the season. What have you got for us?
Well, B, I thought, we cannot go through the whole year without maybe talking about some highlights from the team. So I thought, let's think about some of the off-court, the on-court, but just some of the positives that have happened in season 2025 for the team. So let's start with the Firebirds. I mean, Uganda entered the chat in the SSN. Obviously, Mary Trollock joined the Firebirds. I think she's going to get stronger as the seasons continue to go on. We then have the Lightning. For me, Robert Irwin delivering the ball. I mean, you can't go past...
That's a flashback.
You can't go past that. I mean, they tried on the socials. They chatted to, done some really good social content work, and all of a sudden, Robert Irwin, obviously handing the ball over for the centre pass. That was a must for me. For the Fever, Fowler, Nemard coming back, that return was huge. It really skyrocketed their season, and they have got the most consecutive wins in a season. They're sitting at 13. They've blown that out of the water, so congratulations to the Fever on that one. The Swifts, 8-0 start to the season, but then from there, not many positives after that, but there has been huge chat on TikTok, on socials about Patrick, the mop guy.
Of course.
He is fabulous. The way that he mops those floorboards is like nothing else you've ever seen. So need to go and check out some of Patrick's highlights. Giants. Now, Giants, they were up and down. They had some great wins against the Thunderbirds, but Casey Copua came over from New Zealand. Huge impact there for the Giants. I also think Jo Harden, last game, last shot. You can't go past that. She's been huge. And Julie Fitz, obviously hanging up the coaching clipboard there for the Giants, but we look forward to seeing what she does next. Thunderbirds. Tanya Obbs, 100 games, huge congratulations to her. But Hannah Petty retiring, 6 years of being the captain at the Thunderbirds, 2 premierships, wants to go live the simple life on the farm. I love that for her. I just think, you know what, she's been a huge influence on that team, and she's played a real non-captain's role at time, coming on the bench, but still been a huge inspiration. Vixens. The Vixens, it's all about the pub for the Vixens. I mean, it was Simone McInnes calling, obviously, time on her career, announced it to you, Bianca, and then all of a sudden they went to the pub, and it has just been positive for the Vixens from there. So for me, it's the pub comment. The Mavericks. Now, the Mavericks started off really well through the season, and that was purely because Delta Goodrum. Delta Goodrum, that is it for me.
What did she sing again, Mads?
Oh, she sang Born to Try, but I'm not going to give you a rendition. I'm not the singer in my family. I'll leave that to the people at home. But that is my highlights for the 2025 season. I think I nearly hit the minute, so that must be a positive for us as well.
Into the control room, is that exactly what happened? Love it, Maddie. And what a season it's been. It's really hard to believe. I'm sure you agree with us that it's coming to an end. One more game to go. And we have one more local legends for you, all thanks to CRT. Farming starts with CRT. This week we hear from Izzy from Billabong Crows Football Netball Club. Take a listen.
My name's Izzy O'Connell. I play for the Billabong Crows. I live in Albury, New South Wales, and my positions are GA/GS. Probably some toast for breakfast before my game. Don't let the defenders get in my head, and don't let them stop me from playing my game. My favourite position would have to be GA because I have lots of space to move and I can link up with the wing attack and centre. I don't really carry a netball bag, I just carry all my stuff, but when I do have one, an empty bag of expired lollies.
Thank you so much for sending that in. It's been a great part of Centre Court this season is hearing from all the local legends, hasn't it, Mads?
Yes, and I think, there's been some, traditions that happen at local netball. It's the salad rolls, it's the hot chips after, it's the Denka rub that, for the ladies are playing nearly their 300th game, whether it's in A, C, D, E or whatever you're playing. It's been so nice to kind of get out into the locals because that is where a lot of us start our netball. It's why we love the game so much because, we love what local netball brings. So it's been so nice to hear from some of our local legends.
Yes, and that was Local Legends. No matter where you live or what you farm, it starts with CRT. Okay, so we have a game to preview. That is the grand final that's about to take place at Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. game time. It is the West Coast Fever and the Melbourne Vixens. Now, Sophie Garbin spoke about it, that they haven't been able to beat the West Coast Fever this season. Do you take anything from that?
Oh, I mean, yes, you can, but at the same time, I think the Vixens are a totally different team from when they've played the Fever, although it was in round 14, but it was still travelling over there. And I would say that the Vixens have probably taken their game, even in finals, to another level. So, like I said, I feel like the Vixens are a different team. For me, I think, the Fever, it's a hard week when you're training, that week up, not knowing who your opponents are. So I'm sure they've started to refine their own game plan from when they came up against the Swifts, although it was a prolific win. I think they would have been just kind of tuning some of those types of things. Now they can really start to focus on the Vixens, do a little bit more strategy around that. Key matchup for me, Sunday Ariang and Kira Austin. I think that is potentially where the game could be won for both teams. Sunday, huge against the Swifts in the semi-final. Kira, we talk about her, the barometer. She has, in previous times, had a little bit of the edge over Ariang. So, she can bring that experience and just that kind of like dominance right from the word go. I think she'll stamp her authority on the game and really kind of take that Vixens attack end along for the ride. I also think that there's when do you go to the bench for the Vixens? When do you go to the bench for the Fever? I mean, it's going to be a game on the court with the players, but I also look for the game of chess from the coaches because I think Simone McInnes and Dan Ryan are some of the greatest strategists and masterminds in our game. I mean, Simone, we feel like she's just got that plan A, but she owns that plan A and she really, really kind of like gives everything to those players to get them really prepped and prepared. And same with Dan Ryan. Those players just look like they are clear, concise on their roles. They own clutch moments. So for me, I really hope this one goes down to the wire because both teams, if they bring their best, we're in for an absolute showdown. I
know. When you talk about the best, of course, the Fever, 13 wins in a row this season. Pretty incredible. The only two games they dropped was round 1 and 2, and that was without Fowler Nemard. So they have had an incredible run all the way through to the finals. And you can't help but think for Dan Ryan, if we go back the last couple of seasons, they lost the prelim by 1 in 2023. 2024, they lost the prelim by 1 to the Vixens. Now it feels like this grand final, even though they won it in 2022, the first one for the West Coast Fever, it feels like what they've done this year has been crafted from 3 years of trying to put the team together, drill them the way he wants them to be drilled, make the changes, he always talks about the 10 and they all have a role to play. It's not just about Fowler Nemard, and I'm sure that he hears all of the talk about it. It's like, West Coast Fowler, and everyone talking about how important she is. Yes, she's so important. Of course she is. But it just feels like he's been crafting in this moment to get them into the grand final. They got to avoid the prelim this year, and they are going to be one formidable team. They're going to be very, very hard to stop. But if the Vixens of that final quarter can show up and put that together for 60 minutes, then I think they're in for a red hot chance.
The other thing to note is that the last time the Vixens won a premiership in 2020 was against the Fever. The last time the Fever won a premiership in 2022 was against the Vixens. So both of these teams have really rich history, not only just across, seasons, but in grand finals when it has been make or break and it's only been won by a couple of points or a couple of shots here and there. I mean, all of that plays a part. There's so many incredible storylines. I mean, we even heard last week on the show, Sophie Garbin, she briefly mentioned her in the chat about a Monday. Does a Monday come in?
Yes.
They also spoke about she might be available. I mean, I would have said probably prior to the weekend, yeah, you maybe can because you weren't putting on Tara Watson, but then seeing what she could deliver and, I thought, even Paige Hadley looked a little bit underdone because she'd had a couple of weeks off. Do you bring in Mundy? She's been a massive part of getting you to the grand final this year. Do you owe her that opportunity if she's ready to go to be there and be part of it if you can win it? Or does that emotional kind of judgment cloud what's really important for the week and going in with a team that if you need to inject someone off the bench, you can?
Yes.
So, I mean, there's lots of twos and fros of, I'm sure that would be playing on Simone's mind a little bit.
Oh, yes, no doubt. She'll be hitting the court this week, Monday, just to see where she is at. Huge game to come, of course, this big grand final. No matter if you can't make the game, you can listen on SEN. Maddie will be doing the call, or you can tune in to Fox Netball. We have you covered if you can't get to Rod Laver Arena this weekend in Melbourne. Well, time now for our Strutty Social Scoop netball apparel design for the next generation of superstars. Style meets performance at struttys.com.au. Now, this week we have a question from Alex, and she asks, which club do you think will have the biggest list changes in the off-season? Thanks for sending that through, Alex. And this is a really interesting one because teams play some interesting games when it comes to their list. It's not very clear how many players are actually still contracted, not on contract. Clubs, especially while the season's still on, keep it very close to their chest because as soon as the grand final's done, then it's permission to then go and recruit whoever you like. So it is a little bit unknown who exactly is available. But if I was to have my first thought on this, I would say probably a team like the Giants obviously might have some changes with no Joe Hart in there. We know Jamie Lee Price is leaving. Will she be going to the Mavericks? That's a big question. But I feel like the Giants will have a lot of changes. What do you think? Which team?
Yeah, I tend to agree with the Giants because the biggest thing is having a coach because you can't keep or recruit players without having that coach. Same with the Vixens. I mean, I know they're in a grand final. Their mind is not even thinking about season 2026, but, a new coach coming in, there are players that have all, signed and things like that. But I also think, you could talk about a Firebirds. They're still down the bottom and what do they need? But they probably actually need to be, trying to keep potentially a good chunk of their core group because consistency comes into play. And, another season under Kitty Wells, I think just the same language, the same chat. I think they need to kind of stay a little bit the same. I do think Mavs may have a few changes in there as well, but Giants would probably be my first one. And even to a team that's just, the Swifts, I would have said this was probably their last season in that premiership window with that team. They haven't got there. That defensive unit of Turner and Clow have been there long enough now. Is it time for a change? Where does that change come from? Houseby, we saw her taken off, and some players are aging. They're getting to that latter part or, the final couple of years of your career. Bringing youngsters in, are you not a starting seven anymore? I think teams have to be really clear on, yes, if you're signing them, but maybe what roles those players are playing. But Giants, I would say Giants for me, purely because they've got the coaching as well as I think a lot of players.
Yes, I agree. That was our social scoop. All thanks to Struttys. Struttys innovating netball apparel. Big thank you to OMF, Watch Sport Your Way and Cobram Estate Australian Extra Virgin Olive Oil for supporting Centre Court this season. Big thank you to you, Maddie, all of our special guests that we've had on the desk, and of course all of the crew out the back who put the show together for us. Enjoy the grand final. We don't know what's going to happen next, but we just hope it is an absolute cracking game, and we look forward, hopefully, to be back with Centre Court with you very soon.